Yep, we'll go with. We'll go with. No, it won't get worse.
There she comes.
It's not bad.
Good morning, all. This is the Washington Area Highway Transportation Committee meeting. It is Monday, March 26th, 2018. And can we have a call to order, a roll call?
Mark Wessels.
Here.
Ed Fisher.
Sure.
Judy Wagner.
Tim Hellebush filling in for Judy Wagner.
Okay. Ray Frankenberg.
Here.
Bob Ingerman. Bill Stratman.
Here.
Mayor Lucy. Joe Holtmeyer.
Here.
Dan Cassett. L.B. Eckelkamp.
Here.
Bill Miller.
Here.
Tim Brinker.
Here.
Steve Selenchuk.
Here.
Jeff Malinsky.
Please stand. Pledge allegiance. I. Good morning. Good morning. First item on the agenda is always the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Do I hear any corrections, improvements, notations, anything? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion to approve. Have a second?
Yes. Second. Bill.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Chad Egan, is he on the, he's on the agenda. Does he think he's still coming, or? I haven't heard anything. You haven't heard anything? Okay. Well, we'll wait and see if he comes up later. Amtrak, Mark, go ahead.
No real report. I just checked their news page, about the only thing going on that they thought was newsworthy this week anyway was they're extending the student package. They've been trying to make that more and more accessible and attractive for students to use to go back and forth. And of course, they're still welcoming dogs and cats on the train. So, but we will meet next month.
Do they have a special compartment for the dogs? Nice.
I hope they don't put them in the overhead.
Yeah.
Be
Is there-
renting cats and dogs.
Mark, there's always been a shortfall in monies going to Amtrak with the new transportation or whatever, bills or whatever going
Yeah.
through. Has that been brought up to date, or is it still?
It looks very similar. The ones we saw the last time look very similar to ones in the past. What gets improved and so forth never quite reaches. It may reach the yearly one, but we're always in arrears a bit with Amtrak. And they extend that year to year to year. And it is accumulating. So every year they ask for enough to settle that, but they never quite get all of that. So we've remained in arrears since I've been going up there, I believe.
Yeah.
It's not exorbitant, but it's
Probably depreciation that they get all the equipment free, don't they? Not free, but it's
yeah.
whatever. That's probably.
And they according to Amtrak, they make no bones. They don't make their money here. They
No,
make
they
their
don't.
money on the East Coast and somewhat on the West Coast now.
So the arrears, is that arrears to Amtrak or to the railroad?
The Amtrak.
Okay, so Amtrak's putting a little of their own money.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah, the equipment subsidized. Any other things about Amtrak? Hearing none.
I have,
Highway 47
no, I have
bridge.
one, excuse me, I have one thing to
Oh,
add
I'm
real
sorry.
quick. Sorry about that. The city, as part of Elbert Drive and the parking lot, trying to move forward with that project, the turnaround that you see down at the depot, where it comes off of Front Street, there's a turnaround, there's some parking stalls that are there. We're actually going to pave that as well and overlay that as part of the parking project down on the riverfront. Right now, if you go down there, it's covered in probably 2 inches of just silt and water and things. So we're going to put a 2-inch overlay and then make it ADA compliant and then add an additional parking stall as well. So, and a couple drainage features just to kind of fix it and spruce it up and make it ADA compliant and just get an extra parking stall. So just,
So you're talking about that spot just east of the terminal there?
yep, yes. Yep, the little turn, it's in pretty bad shape. So we felt we were mobilizing pavers for the, on the riverfront. We might as well just take care of that while we were there. So.
Good job, yeah.
Good.
Very good.
Good, very good. Okay, Highway 47 bridge.
I guess I'll talk on that.
Tim?
I don't know what you're looking for, but things are going real well. We're out of the river. You guys can all see that from downtown. The major operation of work is really the structural steel girders. The big girders are going up. We're almost half done with that. The approaches for the most part are Girders are set. We got the deck poured on the Warren County side. Franklin County side, we're farming the deck now. Hope to pour that next month. Come April, May, we'll start the paving, leading up to the bridges, and set to open first part of December. So
Exciting.
it is.
Tim, how much higher, when you look at it now, how much higher will the new bridge, when now all is said and done, settles down and everything else?
Kevin might be able to answer better, probably 10 to 15 feet higher.
Yeah,
And the reason being is your structure's underneath the deck as opposed to on the old bridge, it's up above.
okay, I got
So
you.
we need to make sure we get that navigation channel
I got you.
for barge traffic. But yeah, it's really starting to rise up above the old.
Yeah, when you
Just for clarifying, though, the new bridge will not be settling.
But didn't she explain that the girder will actually drop so many
Well,
inches
it'll-
once
yeah,
you put the
it'll relax.
concrete on it?
The stuff underneath won't be.
No, not the bottom, but the deck itself,
Once we load it,
Yeah.
it will come down and
yeah.
make it smooth and level.
Shouldn't notice that driving by, though.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can see it happening, be careful.
Tim, is the rise in the river levels going to affect you guys much
As
or
long as
not?
it stays below flood stage, we'll be fine. If it gets above flood stage, we'll have to step back. You really don't want to be working out there
No.
when that river's 25 or greater.
Right, very good.
Forecast is 20,
20?
is what it is right now.
Forecast is
5-day
20.
forecast is 20.
The parts that have to be painted, what color will it be?
Again, Kevin might want to answer that. We're going to try to blend it in as much as possible. The only paint that we'll have is at the ends of those big steel girders, and it'll be brown, to get it to blend in.
What it's there is the color it is.
Yeah, really what you see is what you're going to get.
So it's not a gray, it's a brown now?
Yeah.
And is that the surface that oxidizes?
Weathering steel. It's a weathering steel structure. So very, very little maintenance once we're done.
So when you get comments on it, it is actually an oxidation, but it is also a coating that protects the metal. Am I saying that wrong? So people are going to tell you the bridge is already rusting. It truly is rusting, but refer to it as oxidation rather than rust. Because it's planned.
Judy did want me to say that she's working in April with the city to put together a opening celebration project.
Good, good. Starting in April, good, great. Yeah, she should be working with the chamber also, I think, probably, I hope. John, did you have a comment on the bridge?
I do not.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. Anybody else, any comments, any questions? Hearing none, ADA transition plans?
HDR is in the midst of completing their surveys right now, so I would anticipate city staff is going to be assisting them to complete surveys on ADA ramps, things of that nature. So I would anticipate handing that over to us here pretty quick. I think I've been reporting that we do get essentially it's an application that goes on an iPad or computer, so we can track our compliant sidewalks and non-compliant sidewalks. It'll assist us in future planning for replacing panels, things of that nature. Right now, we get about, I think City Council earmarks $50,000 towards sidewalk replacement in town as part of our paving projects. I utilize that money for panels that see a lot of traffic. So essentially, if you're in a residential area that's only a block or two and the panels are, in okay shape, I won't necessarily go and do a project to get that done if we have panels that are being replaced more in the business area, just because I have to utilize that money as best I can. So this will assist us in identifying the worst case and then make sure that those dollars are being spent the best way possible. So that's a positive comes out of that.
Yeah, we completed, the downtown region was completed last week.
There you go.
The rest of the city will be working on here in the next couple of weeks. It actually fits on a cell phone too.
Yeah,
You don't even have to work on it on an iPad.
Oh, very good.
so it's pretty good.
Very good.
We'll get a good tool.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, Highway 47 Corridor Committee? Anybody? John, did you attend that last meeting?
The safety audits were finished. I don't have any other comment, really.
That's about all it really was.
That's all it was.
Report on the audits. the
Yeah, and
safety
that was
aspect.
all
Kind
boilerplate
of
type
redundant.
stuff
Now
we
it's
have
just a
to-
matter of we're going to get this thing in place and make sure we are ready to go when and if the trigger's able to get pulled on,
right, right.
furthering our costs.
Very good, very good. That's the idea.
Still sounding good for that, or any sound at all, or just the same?
It's, I spoke with Senator Blunt about the subject matter of this infrastructure thing when he was in town the other week, actually, Mr. Miller, myself, and another group, but he briefly touched on the fact that the money that was initially proposed probably isn't going to be in that full amount, just as a result of the budgetary constraints put forth on other things. So I said, so give me your best opportunity here. What are you thinking? He was afraid to say, by all means, but he said something will be there. So, I mean, that's
start.
something's better than nothing will be there, you know?
That's exactly right.
So if,
They've gotten the attention.
and look, the states everywhere are all dependent upon this thing and waiting for something to occur, obviously, and hoping for it, so.
Is it still most likely going to be a pretty hefty local match?
Yes, unless it's the grant side of it that we're really pulling far in terms of getting verbiage the way we want it. It'll be a blend of local participation, private participation, and federal participation. If you get on the grant side of things, that's when you're really cooking
Yeah.
with some stew meat, because then you appeal or apply to the state via the governor, et cetera, and pitch your project in that respect. And that's really substantial in terms of minimal impact on additional local dollars. So that's where we want to roll with it.
So the Highway 47 report that was just finished is gone on to East-West Gateway?
We will be discussing again at our next meeting as to what measures and where to go with it specifically. But look, you know, the less local impact we can have, the better, because I know I feel it's kind of like a double taxation. We pay these dollars in, we try to vie for them, and they ask for another local match. That's what I feel is double taxation in a lot of ways. And if we can get by and use those dollars once for what we want to accomplish, that's the objective. But also, we got to recognize the value that we create by improving these things if we have to do a local match. So nothing's being by any means ruled out.
So in the new bill, or the revised bill, the transportation bill, whatever you want to call it, omnibus bill, whatever, did anything change regarding the verbiage on trying to encourage the local under 50,000 population?
Yeah, and that has yet to be taken up,
Okay.
that portion. And that's where that verbiage
That's
is
where the
really going
verbiage
to come
is
into
gonna
play
come
and
out of.
impact us. And my objective on that is to implement some verbiage and propose some verbiage to these guys that say, look, let's put in here the area with which you're doing the work, and it has to be
There you go.
50,000 or less
opposed to it.
versus the county that's applying for it or whatever, what have you. So if we can get a stretch between Washington and Union, okay, so that's, you know, let's just say 35, 40,000-ish impacted, then we fall under that realm. But
Okay.
we want to make sure that that's allowable
Very good. Very
when
good.
that comes to play.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Highway 47 Corridor Committee? Franklin County Transportation Committee?
No report?
Warren County? Anything? Nothing?
Just to give you an update real quick on Bend Road Bridge, Franklin
Yes.
County's perspective, the deck has been poured and the iron workers are there today doing the curbs on the sides, and once they get all those barred in, they'll be pouring the curbs on the side. Infrastructure underneath in terms of communications has been run, and it's looking real good down at Bend Road Bridge. I know it's not a big, but it's a big deal for the county, and it's the largest infrastructure project the county has solely taken on in a long time. And that'll be a real nice relief for a lot of school bus drivers and emergency responders down there in the Pacific area, so.
Anybody who drove on that bridge,
Oh,
it was something else.
he's a relic,
It is truly a relic.
yeah.
The old bridge is the new bridge is being built, but not without its challenges, evidently, huh? You've got
Well,
high
the water
waters, you've had,
impacted initially, but they're on schedule. to
They're on
get-
schedule?
Get it
Good.
fired out, yeah.
good deal.
And
that's
there's
when?
penalty clauses in there, so if they don't, why we get.
When is that
taxed
supposed to
on
be due? When's that due?
it. End of April,
In April. Oh,
maybe between then and 1st June, just depends on what they want to pay, if they want to play.
very good, very good. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Airport.
Okay, on the airport right now, our hangars are still full. The paving and restriping project is moving forward, and Washington Aviation will facilitate that as needed. There will be some closures of not the runway and not the ability for traffic to come and go, but our avgas will be closed for some short period of time. We're making that as short as we can and notifying all of our tenants. They were going to start last Wednesday, but I'm going to kind of turn it over to John for an update on the construction itself.
Yeah, the notice to proceed was given last Wednesday with a requirement to begin in 12 days. So we wanted to just get the notice to proceed out. The issue was with the weather. Our consultant didn't want to give a caveat to them to allow them the calendar days necessary. They didn't want to penalize them because of the rain that's forecasted this week. So they mobilized, I know they mobilized the mill, I believe, and I believe we would probably see some more movement later in the week when it dries out a little bit. But once they get in there, there's a requirement to get going and get the project done as fast as possible. There are 2 phases to the project. Ray hit it right on that. Right now, airplane traffic or taxiing traffic will be allowed to go to the hangars and turn around, things of that nature, whatever's necessary to get people into the office, do what they need to do, and then get back, on their way. So feel pretty confident that's going to move pretty quick. Get them in, get them out, and move forward. So.
And as far as our commercial or our business traffic goes, the jets that come and go, it's going to be pretty seamless. I mean, it'll be striped off. In other words, the old striping's ground off. The new temporary striping is put on. There'll be some barricades set up, so it's going to look normal to them and feel comfortable. And we've been making sure we talk to the pilots about what's coming and things like that. So they'll taxi off. The construction's going to go off, within 60 feet of where they're traveling. And they'll be able to get right to the taxiway. We'll be able to fill the jets up with fuel, and they can load and unload just as they have in the past. And then when they finish one phase, we'll let that concrete harden. So there's probably going to be a 7 to 20 day span in there where there won't be any work going on. Then we move the striping over again. Everything's restriped, so it'll make sense and flow. Local tenants, they're used to traveling from another airport, and they'll just have to get gas there if we do have to close our pumps down for a while. So looking forward to that being done. It's the last phase of our repaving project. Next item, the Warren County Sheriffs, I think I mentioned that to you. They are there in the evening. We are the south end of the Warren County operation right now. So we have given the sheriff a key so that they can get into the lobby. They can do their paperwork and their computer work and be there at the airport and on the south end of the county. So that came about when they lost their space in the Marthasville Police Department. So that's being done. The FBO contract is up this year in May, and we're moving forward with that. I think the city is going to get proposals on that, and Washington Aviation is going to apply and compete for that position again. The next item, the hiking biking trail. The airport and the city, I believe, is going to facilitate what we can on that. That started out as a request for a bench along Highway 47 so people can rest there, sit on the bench and watch traffic. We talked about letting them know by signage that they can pedal on into the pavilion, sit there in the shade and be in the middle of the river bottom in the airport as well. And I'm going to kind of turn it over to Kevin now about what may be happening with the potential of taking a shortcut from 47 and eliminating some of that traffic. Any news?
No, nothing yet. I sent another email to the mayor. I need to stop by and see her. I haven't heard back from her.
I haven't either, but tell the committee what you're proposing, what the idea is.
The idea always has been that we think it's kind of, I think as a city resident, not as an engineer or HDO or anything of that nature, but I think it's kind of dangerous expecting people to ride across our new bike path on the bridge and then basically take a 6-foot shoulder down to Dutso. I mean, obviously the serious bike riders aren't going to have any trouble with it, but you're not going to get families or anybody with small children wanting to ride that far. So basically looking at the way things go, if we can get them down to basically where Waco, the old Waco or Marco building is, that's a county road that runs right over there to the city end of the airport runway for the city's airport. If you can get it down to where Warco is, take the county street out and then around city property, and you basically cut the trip in half. Then you're only talking probably a couple thousand feet of distance along the highway. Whether or not you can get a separated path along that distance, obviously, is something that needs to be discussed. But that's obviously a much less
cost as far as acquiring right-of-way and stuff of that nature that would make them much safer. So I think, number one, it's going to shorten the distance between Washington and the Katy Trail significantly. Number two, probably less impacts on the farmers and the farm land that's over there, which is great. And I think just the safety aspect of it would be huge. The bridge already has a path that goes down. Once you get across the bridge, you'll be able to take the path back around and get to the east side of 47 underneath the bridge without having to cross the highway. So it's kind of set up to work that way already, and I think this just provides a much safer and more usable path to get to the Katy Trail than kind of expecting everybody to go down a 6-foot shoulder at cars zipping by at 55 miles an hour. So hopefully this is an improvement, and we can, once we get this thing moving, I think it'd be pretty easy to get everybody on board on making this happen.
Talk to the VFW?
I have not yet, no. I've been waiting back for the mayor to reply to get this thing kind of officially started before I contact anybody. But
So basically, you turn at Warco and go to basically almost to the airport property, and then go to the right and actually go around the airport. Is that how it would work?
yeah, there'd obviously be
And is there an access road?
concerns with the airport as far as how far you got to stay off the runway and stuff of that nature. So
But is there an easement there, a road easement?
There's a county road, so the county may be somewhat involved in this as well, but there's a county road at the Warco building. If you look there, there's a gravel road that goes straight back past where the gun club, the kids' gun club is, and that gets you to airport property. It then runs along airport property. So where the airport would come in and the city would come in this case, would be how can we allow the bikes then to get across the airport property to the Katy Trail? Because the city's property borders the Katy Trail for about 1.5 miles along there from Lake Creek, 1.5 miles to the east. So there's a lot of ways, and what we've committed to do at the airport, I believe, is to make sure we work them around so it in no way impacts any of the incoming traffic. So they'll be staying around our roll-off zones and things like that, which right now the farmers have a farm road that's on city property that they drive around there, so I would imagine we'll be incorporating it into something like that. And Kevin, being a good Washington resident, has agreed to volunteer. And that's the letter he talks about going to the city, that he's volunteering to head up that committee.
yeah, I think it's going to be the city, it could be Warren County, it'd be Missouri Department of Conservation attaching to the Katy Trail, it'd probably be Boone's Lake. There's a number of organizations I think we can bring in here. I can't imagine. It seems a pretty workable solution. So obviously MoDOT as well.
Good time to look at it.
And so the reason it's on the airport update is just because the airport property may be involved in that pathway.
That's great.
And for the Transportation Committee, it's multimodal, so. Bringing together hiking trails and aircraft, who could ask for more?
And again, isn't there your utilities basically at the Warco facility? There's water, I assume, or did they drill a well?
As far as I doubt that there is public water. We have public water at the airport, but it's our own separate well, and the city has to kind of maintain that as a separate system. I don't believe there is any type of a public water system to Warco. There might be a private well.
It would have to be a well. I mean, there's probably
has to
well, and
be
I'm
a
sure it
well,
was
that's
on
what you're talking-
septic, would be the building, so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So I'll continue to follow up on that.
Good, I think it's a great idea.
Ray, you said all of the hangar space is rented.
Correct.
You get many requests?
Right now, we have 18 on the list, so I can't tell you for sure that 18 would all come there when they open up, because they've all found other places to go while they're on the list, but they've all asked to be on the list. And what we do is we periodically update that list every few months. We'll go down and make sure and call them and make sure they still want to be on the list. So there has been a brief discussion kind of started up at the last board meeting, which we'll probably keep on there, is at what point in time do we recommend building another 12 hangar group? It's possible. We talked about where it might be located. It'd probably be in that same group of 3 hangars that we have now, but that would then also put it in the floodplain. The other possibility is to locate them to the north and west side of our entrance. That ground's about 5 feet higher. So you're closer to being able to put up a hangar or allow a business to put up a hangar on city property that they would be able to have a desk in and an office in with paperwork for their airplanes and not worry about it getting flooded. Right now, the flood plan is a little bit loose over there, but what the flood plan is all of these aircraft in our leases have to be flyable. So you can't put an aircraft in there and tear it apart and just put it in a hangar and let it sit. If the waters come up, we want to be able to open the doors up, leave them open, and fly the aircraft out to another airport. That way the floodwaters don't harm anything, and when the water goes down, we bring a fire hose in, wash some mud off, and we're back in operation. So the difference would be 24-hour always during a flood versus being in the floodwaters and having to move out. Probably more of an answer than you were looking for, Bill. Sorry about that.
Ray, has the closing of the St. Clair Airport, has that resulted in more traffic at the Washington Airport?
I would say minor, because we have some people coming over to get fuel that would not have otherwise. And we did have some interest in someone wanting to purchase ground over there to put a hangar up on. And we have had a few people have acquired as to the prices. You know, I would say some of those 18 used to be at St. Clair Airport. I'm gonna guess that 3 or 4 of that 18 were from St. Clair at one time. St. Clair has been diminishing in activity for many, many years, though. So the type of activity we have here, which is primarily catered to business, the small planes just playing around here, especially the ones that fly at 20 or 30 miles an hour, don't want to mix in with the faster traffic that caters to business. That's the best way I can put that. It also hurts the business traffic a little bit to have these little planes in the pattern. So right now I would say no. What we do talk about always is each airport receives an amount each year from MoDOT. And there was an amount, it could be in like the $100,000 a year range, and I'm not totally up to speed on all the numbers, that did go to St. Clair Airport before it closed. So we periodically check with MoDOT and say, what do we have to do to let everybody know that we feel that funds that came here should be distributed to the air traffic that is here, our airport. And Sullivan says similar things. So if we can get that money or get that money split, I think that's something that we're always trying to work on a little bit. No news on that yet either.
The Sullivan Airport isn't in Franklin County, is it?
I would say that it is. I think our county meetings happen in Sullivan periodically. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
right on the edge.
Oh, there's a county commissioner here. He would
It's
know.
on the edge, yeah.
The airport is south of Highway 44 and just, I'm sorry, north of Highway 44. Thanks for all the eyes. So if
That's
you
it.
remember where the county line is there, maybe I could tell you. But I believe we have been to Franklin County Municipal League meetings in Sullivan.
Sullivan is definitely in Franklin County.
Yeah.
Now, whether the airport is, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if you're
being
saying
on the
it's
north
north,
side of-
then it would be.
Well, part of Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the airport's on the north side of Sullivan, which I'm pretty certain is
North,
in
and
the
it's in
county.
the county,
Yeah.
correct.
That
The
is,
County of Franklin, the 4th largest county in the state of Missouri.
yes, sir. That is all I have.
Airports, no, wait, one airport. No.
Commonwealth.
The only thing else I want to add to the airport, I'm sure Bill appreciates this, we have movement over there as far as, I saw an electrician over there the other day looking at that conduit by the monument sign. And I spoke to John, he said that he's supposed to start this week to get the lights on the monument so you'll be able to see it in the evenings.
Good. Great.
Thanks, Steve.
Long time coming.
I did miss that.
That's progress.
Took some time.
Government action.
So somebody doesn't run into it.
That's
Team
all I
track.
got.
Anything else on airport? Hearing none. Team track,
No report?
East-West Parkway.
The only thing I have there is Casey's is scheduled to be open early April. I don't have a definitive date yet, and I would not want to put words in their mouth, but early April is the opening date of that, so there'll be a lot more traffic on there, and that's all I have.
Any ideas on some of the other excavatings that are going on in that area?
No, they had some, we should grading permit just to do some mass grading, get some pads built up, things of that nature. There's a lot of rumors floating around on social media as far as what's going in, but we haven't necessarily seen anything. So there was I will say there was a Board of Appeals meeting last Thursday to discuss an addition to the Kleinheider building on the actual east side. Trying to think what would be in there. There's I think Premier Pools might have just moved in there. The building between Modern Auto and High Street. They want to do an addition. There was some discussion regarding fire lane, things of that nature. So I don't know, but that, when that's going to happen, but there's some more movement there.
Public transportation? Anything? Hearing anything? Any other business to come forth?
I do have one thing real quick. Judy emailed me last Tuesday to give an update on some signal replacement or improvements at West Pride Drive and Highway 100. I don't know if we recall, last year there was a couple serious accidents that occurred within about a week timeline. We met with MoDOT, the city met with MoDOT, the school district, to kind of come up with, brainstorm some ideas of what could and couldn't be done to kind of prevent that from happening again, or at least reduce the risk. So yesterday, actually, when I was in town, the MoDOT signal shop, and there was one of their suppliers was actually doing some work to the signal cabinet. They were replacing the cabinet. That allows them to go in and put some different controllers and things within that cabinet. She says their signal shop and MS Sedco, which I'm not familiar with them, and Mototrex will be on site to do an equipment install. That'll be on Wednesday this week. What that equipment is the implementation of a dilemma zone, which, once again, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but detection for this intersection. This system will improve safety as reduce red light running violations at this intersection when the signal is cycling during school days. The new radar detection system will be able to detect vehicles at various speeds on both eastbound and westbound 100 within a predetermined range. So there's a radar system on there that assist with the signalization of that, and we're able to extend the green time to allow for a safer passage through the intersection. So it will actually, from what I understand, it'll actually determine how fast the vehicle is going, and then it can adjust the green light to clear the intersection, which is something that came up during those initial discussions, is that the red light was, when it went from cycling from red to green, was so quick that you couldn't get the intersection cleared, and the people who may or may not have been running those red lights, still you want to provide a little extra delay there. So they are moving forward with that. They said the equipment is being provided by MS Sedco and Mototrex as a long-term equipment evaluation. So it may be a new type system. So hopefully Judy can answer a little more next month, but that is going in this week.
What's the cross street?
West Pride Drive, right by Western West Middle School, or I'm sorry, elementary school. So there may be some short lane closures, some minor things, but should be pretty straightforward. Once again, get in, get the equipment installed, and get out.
Okay, good. One other thing, I got a letter from John Griesheimer about the Regional Freightways council membership. Ed Hillhouse called me 3 months ago and asked me if I would serve on that committee, and I did about the first 3 or 4 meetings. And in those meetings, basically they were trying to determine what projects they were going to use to push their committee to push. And the reason Franklin County was in there was because they didn't even know that we had funding for the new bridge yet. So when they asked each of the people who represented the counties to stand up and talk about it, I said, well, the only item in there is the Washington-Missouri Bridge, and it's been funded, and they were looking for projects. Most of it is down on the riverfront, and it's Mississippi River, St. Louis riverfront, in Hall Street, and that whole connection of tractor trailers and trains and barges and all kinds of stuff happen right down there, down at in that general area of St. Louis. And ports are kind of a hot issue with MoDOT now. Quite honestly, after about the third meeting, and it was projects down on Hall Street, basically. And I guess I haven't attended the last 3 or 4 or 5 meetings regarding the ports from down in St. Louis. I'll start attending them again. I don't know what, unless we're trying to put together a port here in the Washington-Franklin County area, I don't know what.
Which has been considered, and I still have documentation historically on that.
You do? Okay. Well, I need to get that from you, because I didn't know there was anything regarding a port.
Actually, some of that discussion happened, Bill, during the grant applications for the team track. I know that was a location we felt that was rail and next to the river, and that was one of the big things.
Because Bernie
talked about a lot.
When Bernie Hillerman was mayor, we brought in the guys from St. Joe that established that stuff as well, and they came down and gave a nice talk on it, presentation. At the time, I think it was just too lofty of an opportunity or pursuit with the instability of leadership statewide and everything like this, they weren't going to give. So it was kind of just pushed off to the side. But, you know, talk.
Well, I guess that's somewhat
This
what
is
I did.
22, but what John's asking for is that, look, if this board is okay with Bill still serving on it and renewing, if you will, on this bi-state development team, really, is who it's kind of regulated by in East-West Gateway. You know, it's a 22-member board that's the St. Louis Regional Freightway, and it's everything and anything to do with freight and how we can benefit from it or implement things to make it better. My contention is, look, we've been going through these meetings since I've been on this committee for years, and the fact of the matter is this team track thing is something that we need to get exposed. I mean, we try to expose it on our end and get the pull through and the demand through, but if they don't know it down there, and the providers that don't know it down there, then why on earth would they even consider it? That kind of thing, I think, and the exposure that can be ascertained can be totally beneficial to us out here.
Well, I knew many of the people that were on that committee, those committees from East West
Right.
Gateway. I
Sure,
wasn't unfamiliar with them. I basically, I guess I dropped the ball because I couldn't see the value of my participation once they had determined that they had picked other projects that they were going to zero in on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was my fault, but I will continue to, I'll start going back to the meetings. I'm on their mailing list as a member.
Well, with that
get all
being
the
said,
stuff.
I'll make a motion that Bill Strautman be the guy to carry the torch on this subcommittee that John's looking for a name on.
I will be glad to do it. I just
We're
couldn't
gonna
see
give
the
you less
value.
oil, so you're a little more squeaky down there, though.
They know when I walk in the room that where I'm from. That's all I care about. you know.
Didn't we did a field
Mr.
trip?
Chair, I mean, just real quick, Mark, I made the motion, Mr. Miller seconded.
I agree.
I have a motion and a second to accept the renomination for the Regional Freightway Committee. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Does the nominee accept?
I accept.
Bill, didn't we about, I don't know, it seems like it was 5 to 10 years ago, we went, a group of us went down to southeast Missouri to that huge port down there. And when we came back, and I believe you're right, we were doing the preliminary planning for the team track and so forth, and we got to buzzing about. But after going down there, it just appeared to be so far removed. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a short line in place, they had a huge
Impressive.
port area for barges to pull into, and I mean, on and on and on. It was like, wow, we're a long way from at least that type of port.
Well, and then to tie some funding to it in order to
Yes,
get the thing
yes.
done. I'm still mystified how that's going to happen, but I will certainly attend the meetings and put forth our information about the area. That's all I can do.
We're counting on you.
Yeah.
Well, and all it really takes is we need to have a couple of thousand jobs at a major national manufacturer that needs to put stuff on the river, and you're there.
Well,
Because we have the bridge, we've linked 44 and 70 now.
that's right. You're correct. The new bridge is going to draw attention to it, and maybe that could become the freight. You know, do we really want freight coming down through Warren County, down 47? Would that be a goal, to increase freight traffic through the city of Washington? Would that be a positive?
I'll hang myself out there, yeah. I think anytime we can have commerce coming through our community, it helps us feed that commerce with our own children and jobs in this community, so.
But I think the chairman's referencing, do we want all that stuff coming through town, or would we rather have it coming to a port?
Oh, like that too. I'll hang out there with that one. Commerce is my
Well, I
thing.
know we're talking about improving Highway 47, okay? So we've already decided that is a major priority and something we need to do for the county. But boy, I'll tell you what, extend 47 and clean it up with 4 lanes coming off of Interstate 70. It could really, it could do it, it could work.
Be the old outer belt they always talked about.
That's right, 470, 570, whatever it was.
We only got two.
And I noticed that Chad, is it Egan or Egan? The regional, Boonslick Regional.
Egan.
Egan.
Still Egan.
Egan.
The new bridge actually is in Warren County, correct, or half of it? Is it the lead county, or is it Franklin? Which is, Doesn't make any difference, I guess, both equally. But we still would like to have him come and talk to us about what Boonslick Regional is doing, particularly because of the causeway, to remind him that our interest in that causeway.
I'll see him later today.
Okay, just remind him.
Know that
We missed him, and,
April 30th.
right, very good. Sounds good. Thank you. Only other business is look at our half-cent sales tax, transportation sales tax that has come in. It looks like we're up 10.43% for the year to date, which started in October. That's great. I mean, and that's lots of money, 10.43% increase. So that means we're getting the sale. The sales are happening in the St. Louis, not St. Louis, but the Washington city limits, quite honestly. So, big increases. Anything else? Hearing none? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Bill, I appreciate you being on that. I don't think there's anybody
What's
better.
that?
Hanging in.
Well,
Yeah,
I understand.
traffic.
I got there and I was overwhelmed. They were talking Hall Street and
Yeah.
relocating tracks and all that stuff.